Welcome back, guys. We're going to start measuring to get our cab back on. We have to make our mounts, as we talked about in the last video. We have to final weld everything. So, first thing we're going to do is start measuring. Alright, so I can't measure the cross space between the front two without taking the motor out, and I don't want to do that right now. So we're going to go with these. So basically what we got is front of the truck here. So we got 44 3/8, those matched up. 47 1/2 and 47 3/8, they're pretty close. And then we got 60 3/4, 60 3/4. So obviously we know the frame is square. We're not sure the cab is square, so we're going to use these measurements from the frame to see what we got going on with the cab. And then obviously when we drill the holes, what we're going to end up doing is these mounts, there's basically bolts that need to go through. There's bolts that need to go through the top and then a nut that screws on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a bolt in here with a washer and drill a slightly larger hole so we have a little bit of room for adjustment. And then when we're all done, we're going to weld the washer in and weld the bolt in. So there we have it. Let's see what we got here. So grab the tape measure. So I think that if we're within about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of what it needs to be, we'll be good to go. Let me take a look at these front mounts real quick. Okay. So all these mounts are toast, but basically our front one here should be about 44 3/8. So we're going to go from this mount that's here, and yeah, we're pretty good. Yeah, 44 3/8 is about right here. And then from there to the back, it should be about 37 1/2, which is pretty much perfect. So there's about where our mounts are going to be. There. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other side. Right there, and yeah, it's pretty much the same spot on the other side. And then we got 37 3/8. All right, so now we have our marks where our mounts need to be, and as you can see, these mounts I've already put up, that mark is pretty much dead center of this mount. Again, pretty much dead center of that mount. So we did an excellent job putting these in to begin with. Very happy about that. Now, so one of the reasons that I wanted to make these mounts a little bit smaller was because of this main hoop. So when we go to do the roll cage in here, there's a couple different parts. I'm sure you guys have seen cars with roll cages. It's not that complicated. Ow. So there's a bar called a main hoop. In this truck, the main hoop is the one that goes all the way around like this. Because this truck, ow, it really just scraped my finger up good. Because this truck has a frame and it's not a unibody, all of these roll cage tubes need to be attached to the frame, not the body, not the cab of the truck. So basically what that means is there is a main hoop. The frame is somewhere back here. It's actually, I think it's more like in here. And then there's an arm that comes out, which is where the cab mount is. What we're going to need to do is we're going to have to build another arm right here that sticks out so that we can put our main hoop bar attached to it here, and it'll go up and around, and we'll do the same thing on this side. So as you can see, this plate that I've put here already doesn't leave much room to make this arm. So we're going to shorten this up a little bit, and that way we have more room for that. So beyond that, on the roll cage, once we have the main hoop in, then there's a piece called a halo. And it's basically going to go from the top here, and it goes all the way around the roof. And then there's door bars. So, and this is the part that's going to be complicated. Not complicated, but a little tricky for me, because if we look at this frame, again, all these bars have to be attached to the frame of the truck. If you look at these mounting points, here's the mounting point for the cab. So the cab ends out here. So you can see the issue. The bar for the halo needs to be way out here. So what we're going to end up doing is building another mount similar to this that sticks out here that we can attach our main hoop bar to. That one's not too bad. That arm's going to be about 10 inches long or so. This one, on the other hand, so here is the other mount for the cab. As you can see, the frame dips in significantly. So what's going to happen here is this bar for this dash bar is actually needs to be somewhere out here. So we're going to have to build a pretty long, about 12-inch arm that sticks out here to hold this frame on, or to hold this dash bars on. Yeah, so this one's going to be a little bit trickier. But, so let's go back to the cab. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here is that mount right here. And if you can imagine, the frame is actually like back here, and it's got that arm that sticks out. So if my frame is all the way back here, it actually runs right inside this line here. So if the frame is back here, we need to have this bar that comes down here needs to attach way over here somewhere. So we're going to end up building some kind of arm that sticks out here to grab this other bar. That'll take care of our dash bars, our halo, and our main hoop. Now, I have not double checked with the NHRA rules yet, but beyond that, what we're going to need to do is, I'm pretty sure that because I'm moving my firewall, we need to have two bars that go from this main hoop, or this dash bar, to inside the engine bay. So one bar is going to end up coming across like this and cutting down into here somewhere. Or it might go, we might end up with a dash bar that goes across this way, across the top, underneath the dash, and then a bar that comes off and dips down into the engine bay. That basically just protects your feet area and stuff like that. Aside from that, the other bars we need, and this one again, I'm not totally sure on how this gets done yet on trucks. In cars, it's pretty easy. But the main hoop is going to be going across like this. There needs to be a bar that connects somewhere up here and comes down into the bed and attaches to where the rear suspension is. So, again, that's going to be tricky because right now I have a glass window. So that bar might come out up here. It might come out in the window. I'm not totally sure. I got to do a little research on that, of how other people do it in trucks. And I also need to look at the NHRA rule book, because I want this cage to be certified for at least 8.5 seconds. This motor that we have in here right now as it sits, the first iteration is probably not going to get us to 8.5 seconds. I'm hoping this is going to be an under 10-second car. It's going to be like a probably a high 9 second car. First pass, turbocharged, 500-600 horsepower, good to go. Obviously, once we get it on the track, we're not going to stop there. So I want the cage to be an 8.5 second cage. I think that's insanely fast. If we decide to go farther than that, then we'll move on from there. So, but that's the game plan right now. We're going to finish making these mounts and keep going. All right, so I've measured them across. I've measured them every which way. I've come to the conclusion that our plates need to be about 5 inches by 5 inches. This back mount is about 4 inches wide, so that gives us about a 1/2 inch on each side wiggle room. They stick out from the edge of the cab 2 3/4 inches. So if we double that, so the pressure is even, it's 4 3/4. So I just did 5. So we're going to make 4 plates that are 5 by 5, and we're going to weld all those in on the marks we have on our cab, and then we're going to make our gussets for the edges. And I'm probably going to put a couple like bead rolls in them, just to kind of help strengthen them up, and then we'll be on our way.